Good morning, and welcome to this year's Technicity event. I'm John Cousins, Managing Director, Public Sector, Google Cloud Canada. I'm often asked, how does Google look at innovation and approach innovation? So today, I wanted to talk about 10x thinking for the public sector as you enter into this event. So firstly, what is the innovation that we've driven over the years? If you think about it, Google has over 8 platforms with 1 billion users each. What does that mean? It really means that we've had to take an approach of 10x thinking that it's all about coming up with radical solutions to huge problems and solutions that provide a 10x improvement over the way things are currently done. So what are the foundational elements that Google has and uses to produce such 10x thinking and produce such success and platform adoption? Really, it starts with a culture of innovation principles that we share. There's 6 primary principles. And I think the number one most important principle for public sector or people in the public service overall is psychological safety. We also follow that by focus on the user, 10x thinking, launch and iterate, default to open, and innovation comes from everywhere. So really, I'm going to drill in on psychological safety. What does that mean? Psychological safety is a condition in which humans feel included, safe to learn, and safe to contribute to the challenge to status quo. Often in government, which has a hierarchical structure, challenges people to be able to express or do that in that hierarchy. It's not necessarily conducive to that psychological safety. Whether you have to sit in front of a committee and defend something, it's adversarial in nature versus open and transparent. So how do you have that psychological safety where people are free to test things out and push different boundaries? That is a number one predictor of team success at Google. And I believe in public sector, we could adopt some more of these principles to ensure that we can drive this kind of success when we're looking at digital transformation across the board. Number 2 is really focus on the user. You saw those platforms that we put out in the world widely adopted. It's because it's user-centric, keeping them in the loop. It allows us to, focus on the user and everything else will follow. So that's a key principle. The next one is really default to open, transparency, sunlight, share everything model. So transparent on sharing objectives, progress reports. At Google, we have something called Google Geist. We share and we publish everything internally. TGIF meetings, we share product vision internally. We open source everything, and then we create space for people to collaborate constantly and interact. Those things are really about openness and which help drive that culture of innovation. And frankly, innovation comes from everywhere. Too often in government, especially in technology, we find ourselves saying, I'm this type of a shop. In the digital era, I would argue that you can no longer say, I only use this tech, because innovation is coming at us faster than ever before, and innovation comes from everywhere. So we try to inspire innovation by having people and employees look at 20% projects, stuff that they could do on the side to pursue outside of their core jobs. We create something called Area 21, which is an internal incubator with the support of Google's infrastructure. And Google X and Google Ventures, which are separate for innovation structures and external investments, vehicles, and for Google startups. These are foundational elements which allow us to have a broader purview of where things might come from in the future to enable digital transformation. Sharing everything, I talked about this earlier. We share everything internally at Google. There's very little hierarchy and very much transparency that people and employees are empowered. Taking this kind of principle means that no one's questioning agendas, no one is questioning where the strategy is. It's in the open and all the time. And finally, have a healthy disregard for the impossible. What does that mean? Ultimately, don't necessarily be bound by the status quo. But why Google at the end of the day? 3 key things come to mind when I talk to public sector executives across the country. We bring together open source and data, open multi-cloud services, open doors to experts. So what does that look like on the ground for Google? Really, one of the things that we're doing in cities right now is Waze data in Google Cloud for actionable insight. By joining Waze for Cities programs, eligible partners get access to raw Waze data, such as traffic jams, alerts, or irregularities, provided as BigQuery datasets. This is provided by free, and you could build applications off this. What does this look like? In practice, this helps us build environmental insights, for instance, looking at transportation emissions, rooftop solar potential, building emissions, technology having impact with that type of insight into the data. We could use Google Data Maps to provide rich insights into the vital signs of our planet. What it also looks like is using other technologies that we have that's available to the general public, Google Earth and BigQuery datasets, with weather, satellite imagery, and other geospatial data information for environment and urban analysis. We're seeing increased weather events. City of Toronto was seeing floods. Who would have thought? How do we have a better understanding and insight into the data that can impact our environment and our the environmental impact that it has on our cities? We've seen organizations in Canada like Natural Resources Canada, where they're monitoring Canada's leaf canopy with Google Earth Engine on Google Cloud, looking at how the 50 years of data to be able to understand where that leaf canopy is this day and age. This is all key open data that we provide and engage with. And finally, things like Waymo. We're empowering autonomous smart mobility providers with data. The Waymo open data set contains data collected from millions of kilometers of cars that have driven over urban environments. Think about this for the future of how we're looking at innovation. These are just a couple of things that, as you think about this session the next day or two, and what we're looking at with Technicity and for cities, I wanted to share these thoughts, and I'll let you go. Thank you very much for your time.